Well, today's video, thanks for joining, by the way. Today's video is actually something that I thought would be helpful to anybody that might be considering either actively pursuing the throuple lifestyle or is at the verge of making that decision as a couple. Maybe there's already somebody that you have in mind, and I thought maybe some insight on that would help. So today's video is about the benefits of throuple lifestyle. Um, Two quick notes. One of them is that a benefit to me might be somebody's exact opposite. A good example of that would be the fact that you always have somebody there, or you usually do, different like than in a traditional two-person relationship. For me, that's a total benefit. I love spending time with my partners, and I love, even my alone time often is spent in tandem with one of the two of them or both. So again, benefit can also be to the detriment of other people. And secondly, I'm not trying to sell anybody on the poly lifestyle at all. It's a huge decision that you need to make. You might be in a position like I was, where it just kind of made sense. And so we decided as a couple to do this. But I don't want anybody thinking that I'm encouraging this lifestyle. I'm happy to point out certain aspects of it, but that's kind of where it stops. So the first benefit that I wanted to speak about, and by the way, these are in no real order, but the first benefit is kind of one benefit split into a few different facets of that, which is the aspect of shared resources. So within shared resources, there's tangibles and intangibles. So I'm going to do the tangibles first because they're the most obvious. When you're in a throuple relationship, and depending on how it's configured and how you want to set it up, because really there are no rules. We're making them up as we go along. But for us, we share everything. We share a house together, a trailer at a campground as seasonals. We travel together. So the income is a definite shared resource. We have three incomes as opposed to two, and that hits us in a number of forms. When one of us isn't working, the other two can help with the load, and then, but also we can also use the resources we have to provide us with the lifestyle that we want. Of course, there's always a downside, and that'll probably be in a future video, but the downside to that is that your expenses are naturally going to be more. Then the other side of the tangible piece is the splitting of labor or tasks. So as anyone out there knows, you've got to go do groceries, you got to cook dinner, clean up from dinner, keep the house clean, do the house maintenance, all of those things. Well, it comes in really handy to have an extra set of hands. More hands equals more work. So that's another tangible. And then the one that I don't think is as obvious is that you can be more than one place at once. In fact, you can be three places at once. So I don't know about you, but in a busy lifestyle, you might have to, be dropping kids off at something, or, attending a board meeting, one of you working, and then you've got invites to dinner parties and that kind of thing. And it always helps where if you can't all be somewhere, or you don't all want to be somewhere, that you can split that up. And, those that enjoy one thing can do that, and those that don't have to. And in fact, they could either get some alone time or be doing something that you've committed to. So next we're going to talk about intangible resource splitting, and that's more on the sort of emotional, intellectual level. And really, there's, in any relationship, there's a huge amount of honesty and communication and discussion that needs to occur to make that relationship successful. So when we move to shared resources on the intangible side, all of this as well is dependent on the mix of people and personalities and mindsets that you have within any relationship. But for us, we have a way of being there for each other, and it's not necessarily always the same way. Two of us have one type of relationship, and we can draw upon each other in those regards. and then two others have a completely different dynamic. As long as they come together in an honest and natural way, and as long as everyone has open and honest communication, that really works to the advantage of the people within the relationship. If we contrast this to a more traditional two-person couple or marriage, you've got one person to bounce things off or to go through emotional instances or occurrences with. If that person, just in that case or in general, is not agreeable to the way that you think or feel, then there could potentially be issues down the road. In the case of a throuple or a trouple, we can always bounce different things off each other. The same would go on the side of intellectual resources. We all have our strengths, we all have our knowledge, and having three people with three different skill sets, three different ideals, makes it really good for us to do different things, have different hobbies. And the other benefit of that is that, again, contrasting with the more traditional couple relationship, oftentimes I've seen it, and it happened in my own monogamous relationships, is that you might have an interest or they have an interest of which the two of you do not share. In many cases, that's how you get your alone time, and that's great. But in other cases, often a partner will put those interests or hobbies or discussions aside, because over time you tend to kind of blend, and then things that become less important to one often will then become less important to the other. So within the throuple dynamic, there's a lot more interests that are being shared amongst the three. And although we always don't participate in the same things, usually there's at least one of the two that has some sort of interest in whatever the discussion or the occurrence is that's happening. So the next benefit that I want to talk about is on the whole side of communication, conflict, and conflict resolution. Again, like all of them, there could be a definite detriment as part of this. But in our dynamic, what really works is that we have three different, very different personalities. So oftentimes, one of us, the one that's not involved in the discussion or the conflict of the day, acts as kind of like a calming. It doesn't always work this way, but in many cases, it's kind of like you're not going to just that one person to be the problem and the solution. We have a different perspective that is not just twice removed. They're actually involved, and they see things that are going on, but they're seeing it from their perspective. And as we all know, when you're a bit removed from a conflict, usually the truth is where that lies. So conflict resolution is a big one. And then I talked in the beginning of the video, but my next benefit that I want to talk about was that whole idea of, being alone or often being alone. When you are in a traditional couple dynamic, if one of you is not there, then the other is on their own. And that, when I say on their own, it could be that they're going to be with friends or whatever, but they're representing themselves as a solo person. When you've got this throuple dynamic, the odds or the timing that if you want to be with somebody and be around somebody, they're there. And sometimes it's not both, sometimes it's just one. But the reality and the fact is there's that much more availability when there's an extra person. So the last benefit that I want to talk about, and I don't want to get seedy or anything, but the obvious one is what I'm thinking, and I can't ignore that. But there is that dynamic where we've all been there, where your partner, your one partner, has a headache or isn't feeling up to anything. You always have another person there. I don't think I need to say much on that, but there is another aspect too, which is just sometimes when you are in a traditional couple dynamic, in that aspect, you may have an interest that the other person has none in. For instance, like role play would be one where that's not everybody's cup of tea, but it might be somebody else's. Well, you add an extra partner, and odds are that you've got twice the likelihood of somebody engaging in that interest with you as well. So again, I don't want to bring this to a level, but I also feel like it needs to be addressed on some level if I'm going to be talking about the benefits of polyamory. Again, I don't want to stress on this channel the sexual nature of a throuple, because literally the biggest part of a throuple is more in the head than it is anywhere else. So I won't be dwelling on that very often, but it is something worth noting. Anyhow, that's kind of my take on the advantages of being in a poly or throuple relationship. I'm sure, there's much disagreement on this. Luckily, not too many people are watching this channel yet, but I'm happy to hear comments. Coming up, I do plan on doing the flip side, which is what are some of the challenges involved in a throuple relationship. And also, if you happen to find me and you like or dislike what you hear, drop a comment and I'd be happy to chat on here. And remember to like and subscribe. Thanks. Have a great day.